Thanks for joining us on this week's edition of IPWatchdog Unleashed. This week, joining me is Marlene Valderrama. Marlene is here in the studio with me. She was just at our Women's IP Forum. So thank you for joining us here. Marlene is, well, I'll let you tell it exactly what you do. I know your role at Halliburton has changed a little bit over time. I know one of the things that you've always been involved in is sort of an innovation scout, I think you call it, and with innovation harvesting and that sort of thing. But I also know that your portfolio has expanded to AI, so we can get involved in talking about AI a little bit. But thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. It's been a great time at Halliburton over the last, I would say, 7 months. The company's transitioning to really kind of focus on streamlining things like AI and IP. So right now I'm kind of moved over from just focusing on one division to focusing all the divisions and trying to meet with all the teams, specifically with the digital teams, and trying to see if there's any potential IP there. But even beyond that, just encouraging all the digital teams for them to realize that whatever they're working on, it's actually novel. I think that's a lot of issues that we have with a lot of digital kind of software teams. They forget that whatever they're working on, it's actually innovation and it's changing things that could be patentable. I think after the swing from the AIA and everything else, a lot of our folks really thought you cannot patent anything that's software or AI or anything. So now trying to change that mindset now has been really hard, but it's an exciting time. I think everyone's talking about AI, everyone's talking about innovation. People forget that oil and gas is a lot of tech heavy. It's not just dumb iron. There's a lot of technology that goes into it. It's basically outer space, just downhole, 15 miles laterally, 5 miles down. So it's exciting.
But the drilling technology is advancing all the time, right?
Yes, I'm telling you, with the use of now AI and digital, the amount of things that we're doing. So we have full-on digital twins. So Halliburton's one of the experts on digital twins technology. We have tools that are able to go down hole. We have high-end sensors that now are able to look laterally 200 feet forward using this type of technology. We're using that input to have digital twins in real time and let us know what's around the formation. That's something that was not able to be done even like 10, 15 years ago.
So what does that mean for you as a business? I can imagine that it makes you a lot more efficient and you're not drilling holes that aren't going to go anywhere, right? Is it that simple, or is it more benefits to it?
Yes, so it really is that simple, right? So because we're basically drilling blindfolded, right? We're not able to see, like if I'm down, just looking down the ground, I can't see anything, right? So I really want to make sure as I'm spending time drilling down, which is sometimes $1 million a day as you're drilling, that I'm going to hit the right type of formation. So as you're going down, you're going through so many different types of formations, you have no idea. But if I'm able to pinpoint exactly where that pay zone is, now I'm saving the oil companies, the Shells, the Chevrons, millions of dollars, because I'm telling you exactly where you're going to be, where in that formation to end, so then the oil actually comes out. And
so it's like quite literally taking a picture in the ground, and going right after the gold.
And it's extremely difficult. Our technology has gotten so better now that you could drilled one hole down and have like 60 lateral holes going throughout and hit the exact formation that we need. It's amazing, and the way that we're taking in data into our data lakes, we're learning things so fast. It's fascinating. We have PhD level technologists from every single type of kind of background, from physics to data science to geologists to mechanical to engineering, because that's the type of technology we develop. So it's an exciting time.
Yeah.
And I guess it's also hard to then tap into that and ensure that we're developing that IP, because they're so busy developing high-end tools that you got people like me sitting in like their committees and trying to talk to them, or even just, I have this office full of candy. I always joke that I'm trying to give people diabetes, but I tell them, just come in. I've changed my whole office to have
free candy.
Free candy.
With an idea.
Free candy with an idea. I have this neon sign now that says "Think outside the box." I make it cozy. I make myself available. I'm trying to be intentional to just talk to people.
Yeah.
To just
Show up at meetings.
Just show up in meetings.
Well, you know Jason Harrier, right? You've met him at our events, I
Yes.
think. And he's said things along these lines where when he first went in his house, he just started going to meetings. And they're like, well, why are you here? Well, I'm the patent guy. Right, well, why are you here? And you have to explain, like, well, what do we do here? Well, we research, we develop. Okay, and how do you make money on research and develop? You kind of got to lay it out for them. And the other thing that Jason said, and maybe you can comment on both of these things, and he said it on this stage. I think he said it during our podcast before I've had him on, is that he thought when you go in-house, I'm going to aggressively train everybody, teach them what patents are, teach them what innovation is, teach them what can be patented, and then all of a sudden the innovation disclosures are just going to roll in. And much like in a lot of other parts of the economy, when you hire people, you can't assume they're going to stay there. Talented people, they're in high demand, and some of them will retire, some will move on, they'll go work for themselves. And it's like every 18 months you have like this flip over. Do you experience that as well?
We experience it some. Our issue is having that training constantly for them to get reminded. So many people have so many things in their mind. They got a project that they got to deliver, that IP is the last thing. And then they confuse certain concepts like freedom to operate with validity or anything like that. It's just that constant, we got to train them. But we do have a really good structure at Halliburton where we do quarterly trainings for everyone, and for every new hire we do a one-on-one with them as well, which is pretty hard. We're trying to develop.
Is that with you? You're one-on-one with them?
Yeah, I'm trying to get one-on-one with them as well. But we also have different kind of people like me throughout the organization to try to target that. We're also developing online kind of training internally. So we have something called How World and How TV. So I'm trying to develop that as well.
So let me take a step back here for a minute, because Halliburton is a humongous company, right? And there's a few of you at Halliburton, right? But so operate in different areas. Right? What is your defined column?
So right now I'm under global R&D. So I report over to global R&D, and then there's divisions they looked at. I'm solely under global R&D, just looking at all the divisions.
So across the divisions. Are there other people like you that also do that, or
no? I'm the only person that's.
Because when I think we first met, you were more
in the division siloed. Yeah.
Okay, so well, congratulations, you're moving up in the world.
I'm trying to be the next you.
Well, let's talk about that some other time. But I think highly of you, and that's one of the reasons why I always include you, want you to be
here.
Thank you. And had you moderate a panel, I thought you did great on doing that. You've been a panelist, I think, very highly of you. So the more that we could work together, I would be all in favor of that. And that maybe gives us an opportunity, before we can kind of come back to the invention talk and maybe we get to the AI stuff. We were talking at lunch about how
we met, yeah.
We met, right? You want to tell that story?
Yes. So I remember vividly, because it was the 4th of July kind of week. It was a podcast. No, it was a webinar you did. And I don't remember what it was, but it was insightful enough that I was like, I'm going to add him on LinkedIn. So I must have been like a Monday or Tuesday. I just remember it was like July 2nd. Added you. 4th of July, I had a pool party and I was hanging out with people. I had a little bit too much to drink. So when I came back home, I thought to myself, you know what, I'm just going to message him. I'm just going to do it. Yeah. And it was literally liquid courage. I believe that totally changed my perspective, because after that we started connecting. Right. You said, oh, thank you. I really appreciate your comment on that. And when you mentioned today at the end of the Women's Forum that you appreciate when people message you through LinkedIn, because people don't do it. I was like, oh my God, that's what got me there.
No, it is. And and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I do think, particularly people at the beginning of their career need to understand there's a lot of us out there who would be willing to help. The first thing though is and I always try and put something on somebody, and this wasn't exactly how but I taught in the patent bar review course forever. And people come up to you and say, oh, I'd like to be involved with IPWatchdog, I'd like to do this and whatever. And I always say to them, it's like, okay, once you pass the bar exam, or in the story I told today, it was somebody, she was going to law school. And I'm like, well, I don't want to hire you in your first semester, not because I don't think you're any good. it's the first semester of law school is really, really tough. So you need to focus on getting your sea legs. In January, if you're still interested, email me. And she's really the only person who's ever followed up. And you know that stands out when somebody follows up. When somebody reaches out to you, it stands out. And so I had forgot how we actually met, to be honest with you. So it was great to hear that I wasn't a jerk.
Yeah, but I appreciate that you're so approachable. I want to say, for someone who's learned a lot about IP through your blog, I was just so grateful that you even responded back. Yeah. I want to say you're very humble. Like you do so much. You've changed the whole industry in so many different ways that I think during your anniversary, like the 20-year anniversary, everyone sent a note. I was like, you changed the whole industry for the better. Yeah. And I don't know if you know that, but I'm telling you, like you've touched so many lives, and the fact that you're so willing for people to like come talk to you, it's changed a lot. I personally have benefited from that, so thank you.
Well, great. Well, I think I've benefited, and our audience has benefited from knowing you and learning more about you. And how did you get into this space?
Yeah, so it's funny. I was just talking to a couple of people about it. So I've known that I wanted to be an IP. Well, I thought I was going to be an IP attorney since I was 16 years old. I was volunteering, or kind of like a summer school internship in high school at a law firm. And one of the partners there told me, "You're really good in sciences and math. Have you ever heard about IP?" I said, "No, I had no idea." So that is why I got my undergrad in physics, because I thought I was going to go to law school. I have a minor in studio art, so in my junior year I was studying abroad in Italy. Did not study for the bar whatsoever. Came back to the States, took it blind, did horribly. I did not realize that they averaged your scores, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to take some time. And Schlumberger, one of the oil companies, somehow found me in Santa Barbara, California, sold me this dream of traveling the world, and I ended up drilling in North Dakota. So I was actually a drilling engineer at the rig for a while. But I come through a different kind of path. I went to a couple of different oil companies, and one of them had an opening in their IP department that they needed a patent engineer. And I already knew a little bit about IP, and clearly I knew about engineering and oil and gas, and that's how I came into that department. Mm-hmm. And I had amazing mentors. I would say Ryan Gum is one of my really good mentors. I think he's probably chief patent counsel at Chevron now. He taught me so much. He gave me kind of like great advice. He's like, go do this, go try it, take the patent bar. Taught me some prep and pros and strategy. And since then, I've kind of grown into my own. But it's because of those key people along the way who were like, you're good at this. Have you tried this? Let me open the door for you.
Maybe the question I can ask you before we get into AI is what has surprised you about going through? I mean, because you start at the oil rig, mm-hmm. and then you've moved over into more of the R&D innovation harvesting world, and now when we get into talking about AI, we'll see that you're moving beyond that and doing other things with the company. But in this journey, has anything really stood out as surprising to you?
Good question. I usually always have something to say. Now I'm a little bit stumped. But I would say the one thing is that no matter where I was, someone was always innovating. And I like the fact to encourage that on people. Because it's that simple act of, did you know that you're very smart and this could be patented? Or throughout that stage, even beyond when I was at the rig, someone would be doing something in such a novel way that I would just be shocked. I was like, oh, wow. First of all, I didn't even think about that process could be patented in that way. But it's just those nuances of innovation throughout the whole kind of line has kind of reiterated. And
so you're a real believer.
I'm a real believer. I am such a nerd about it. I have such a passion for it.
You don't look like a nerd. You don't come across like a nerd. I mean, when you talk like that, you do come across a little nerdy. But
I seriously, I 100% believe in the whole innovation cycle of everything. I love telling people, so one of my favorite instances at Halliburton was, I think when I first joined, they had this kind of gentleman. He had been in the industry, I don't know, probably 30 years. He moved around to different oil and gas companies, and he was working on something, and I went to go talk to him. And I told him, this process and this particular design, how you're doing it, this can be patentable. And he's like, well, no one's ever told me that. What are you talking about? And I was like, this is really key to our product. We're going to go ahead and submit a disclosure and do this. When he submitted it and got his grant 3 years later, he was the happiest person. He said, no one has ever told me that what I work on could be patentable and then it would be novel. And that was like one of my highlights. Like, I'm getting chills because that was like one of my highlights. And it's because I really do believe that no matter what type of person you are, and even industry-wise, there's always innovation in that type of person.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And I also think that probably if we had that person here and we could talk to them, it wasn't just that nobody told them that it was patentable. It was probably nobody really told them it was valuable.
Yeah, it's true.
And so you may have been the first person that really showed interest in what that person was doing. And I think that's a big part of one of the reasons why you want to seek patents is your people, they get recognized. And that's a very valuable thing to encourage morale, really.
Yeah, and I think I was thinking about it. I love the fact that we had this conference right after this because we have had such great conversations. And there's people who are like, well, you should definitely, pay people for patents, which we do. But not everyone's driven by money. Mm-hmm. You got to have that relationship with people. Some people are driven by recognition. So we have this internal kind of social media thing that I've been trying to post and like make it very popular. And anytime anyone gets their first patent, I do this big deal about it. And I do this big post and I say, congrats. I tag their manager. I tag the CEO. I tag marketing and say, did you guys know that we're innovating? And now, for the first time, I've had 2 different inventors tell me, hey, I just got an email saying I got an allowance. Will you do that type of post for me? And it's like those little simple acts that it's like, yes, they got paid for it, but that's not probably the recognition they wanted. They wanted more of a social recognition with other things. So it's those nuances that I try to seek with our folks to just encourage them like, hey, you're valuable in whatever thing you're doing. You're valuable for the company. And because you're doing this, you're moving the company forward. And it's nuances. And it kind of like we go back, I make myself visible and available and annoying. I annoy a lot of people, but that's the only way that they're going to come see me and say, hey, I have an idea, or I got in trouble somehow. So
Right. Well, it's interesting that you say that you annoy people like that. And I know it's sort of tongue in cheek, but everybody seems to know you. Not just at Halliburton. I mean, like when you go to a conference, I know specifically you've come to our events over the last several years. And when you're there, it's like everybody knows Marlene. And
Thank you.
So what is the secret? So and I know we had some young women here and we were all giving them, advice as to, what they can do to advance their careers and that sort of thing. One of the things is always so important for a young attorney is networking. Mm-hmm. And you seem to nail that. I mean, so what advice do you have to somebody? Because there's a lot of people in the patent community, not surprising, a community made of engineers and scientists that are not particularly good at networking.
Yeah,
What's the secret sauce?
It's taking that initial step. I think you also mentioned this, and Renee, of getting the way out of yourself and just go out and do it. But I think I'm social, like as you could tell, I do like people. But I was telling a couple of people earlier that whenever I'm afraid of something, I try to go do it immediately. So like when talking to you or like talking to Judge Newman, like on Monday, I was like really afraid and I was like, I'm just going to go do it. But I just like connecting with people. I was just because it's just wonderful and just learning so much about it.
But that's, it's great for particularly younger folks in the industry to hear because you are out there. And people see that and they notice that. But you have butterflies just like everyone else when you're meeting like Judge Newman for the first time. I remember the first time I really talked to her, it was like surreal.
She's incredible. But even every time I'm in a panel or in a webinar, whether it's with you or someone else, I freak out. I literally freak out. I was telling a couple of people what I have to do to calm myself down, I do a lot of kind of like looking at YouTube and studies of what to do. And one of my tricks is I pop a Tic Tac right before I speak. I stand up. I put myself like Superwoman, and then calm myself down to just kind of, because if you have something in your mouth before you're doing something, you're not in fight or flight, because eating is like comfortable and you're just like chill.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
So if I'm doing like a big kind of speech at work or a big project I'm presenting to the higher ups, I practice in front of the mirror and I record myself so then I could hear what I'm going to say. So it's little things like that. I do a lot of visualizing, like right before one of the panels here, the day before I sat and I closed my eyes and I was like, okay, this is how it's going to go. Because it was my first time moderating, so I was freaking out too. So I was telling Morgan, I was like,
it's
Morgan,
fun, isn't it?
It is. It definitely is. But it's those little things. But so advice for people that are afraid to go talk to someone, just go do it.
Just show up, because I have always followed this, and ever since I was young, and I had a horrible stutter. Not like a one-on-one conversation with people, but when I would be in front of people. And this goes actually back to even more to high school. It started to get solved in high school. I'll tell that story here in a minute. But even like the earliest part of elementary school, when you're in reading class and you go around the table and everybody takes a section to read, I couldn't read at all. I was like smart kid in top of the classes, to the extent that there is a top or a bottom when you're 9 or 10 years old, right? Except for reading. I was like in remedial reading, for people who are, like mentally challenged, because they didn't realize, and finally, actually, it was until 7th grade. I remember my 7th grade teacher it's like, well, why is he there? Yeah. And they're like, well, because he can't really read. And he said he's getting an A+, like every question right in math. And once you transition into that, it's the age where you transition into word problems. He said, well, clearly he can read, because he's getting the math right, getting the word problems right. And it was him. It was pivotal, And so that I started changing, and then I go into high school shortly thereafter. And I went to a Christian Brothers Academy in Lincroft, New Jersey, and one of the brothers told me, look, you have to face your fears. You have to. So we get together every morning, a handful of us, for a prayer group, and they were all my friends. It was a very small group, and we would take turns reading out of the Bible passages and that sort of thing. And I never did it, because even though they were all my friends, I couldn't stand in front of anybody, and it would be like crippling, because I'd be standing there at the podium, and it felt like I was standing on quicksand. The floor's coming up, and my knees and my legs are being crunched, and you start getting those kinds of nerves and sweats, and then whatever your strategy was beforehand is out the window. You are now trying to survive. So he said to me, just read in front of us, just try. And I tried, and then it got to a certain point where he said, okay, now you need to start reading in front of other people. So I volunteered to read at church on Sundays, and much like you, this is why it resonated what you said, you stand in front of a mirror. I wasn't so much reading at church as much as I was reciting, because I would read that passage I had to read over and over. I would read it 100 or 1,000 times sometimes, and so I wouldn't stumble over the words, because, but that was my experience, and
which is surprising, because look at you now.
No, I know. I mean, look at me now. I could not possibly ever do this, what I do today, if it wasn't for those two, one, my 7th grade teacher who realized the issue, and then brother Daniel, who challenged me to try and do something about it in a safe environment at first. But so it's interesting. You have that.
Which I think you do that for us. Being here, the type of conferences you put on is such a safe environment, and I'm so grateful that you started the IP Women's Forum. Like we all been talking about it all week. how this is such a safe environment for everyone, no matter what level you're in.
Yeah.
It's such a safe environment for all of us, and it just fosters even more like collaboration and getting to know each other and like encouragement. Like the fact, like, so we have this WhatsApp group that got created last year, and every time someone goes to a different conference, they add someone new, and now this group is getting bigger and bigger, and it's because of you.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad. And so this is something that I wanted to do. I had it in the back of my mind, I wanted to do this. And then this is the second time we did. The first time we did it was at the end of August. It was like the worst time in the world to do it, and we still had 80 to 85 women here. And I just didn't want to wait a year, so that we had that opening in our calendar. So we did it, and everybody loved it. And this year was, I think, even bigger and better. And I think it's going to be a big part of our program, because everybody just is so excited. But what I try and do that makes it different is I want you all to be talking about your substantive area of expertise, because that's the point, is to give opportunity.
Yeah. I think this is why it's so great. And the fact that you give everyone a mic and that opportunity to, no matter how nervous you are, though, everyone's up here speaking about their area of expertise. And like you said, keep exposing yourself over and over and over again, and I think that's the best way.
Yeah,
so
well, last night during karaoke, there was a few people that didn't deserve the microphone, but everybody had fun, including me. You all talked me into singing, and I hope to God there is no recording of that. No,
I actually have one, but I'm keeping it in the back pocket.
Yeah, that's blackmail. Whip that out at some opportune moment.
I like the fact that you had your glasses on. It totally made the whole outfit.
Right. Well, okay, so now you told that story. So I probably
you don't have to say anything.
No, I will. So it wasn't just that I was being a prima donna or trying to be like Stevie Wonder or anything, but I actually, this, sucks. It's better than the alternative, I guess, but then, the alternative being dying. But I had, and have still at the moment, a slightly detached retina and a tear in my retina. So I had to go and get that fixed in the office, and I had a laser, and I had to wear sunglasses, and we will find out tomorrow whether I'm healing well, and we'll find out in a week or so whether I need more elaborate surgery. But getting old sucks.
I just want to say, to the testament of how passionate and committed you are, you came back after that procedure and still were here managing everything and singing in the end. So
well, singing, yeah, and I hated to have to leave. It's just that, once you start seeing the squigglies in your field of vision, you're like, okay, you need to get help immediately, otherwise you might go blind. And as we were talking, this is a good segue to AI. As I said last night, it's like, okay, well, the one thing AI certainly can't do right now is read for me.
Yes. Yeah.
Some people might disagree with that, but you're wrong. I mean, it can't read for you. And a lot of the stuff that it's getting better. Maybe eventually it will be able to do that, but I don't want to go blind. So I had to.
It's good you went to go take care of it.
Yeah, so I did to go take care of it. But segue to the AI stuff. I mean, AI right now to me strikes me as, boy, it looks really great and powerful and lots of potential, but it's not hiccup free.
It's not. It is definitely not. But the cool, exciting time for us right now is that we could test it without breaking anything.
Right.
At least, right?
So you turn this on to an AI platform that could maybe potentially take some of our articles and turn them into almost like mini podcasts. So we did try that. And I was in some ways shocked at how good it was. And then also concerned because like the AI started talking
say the
about,
wrong name.
Say the wrong name, and it's like, and then the other thing is that the tone of the article was like a little conspiratorial, it felt. And it was not a conspiracy. You could get from there to conspiracy theory, but a lot of people get there to conspiracy theories where there isn't any.
No matter what, yeah.
So on one level, on one level, it was shocking how good it was. Because it was very conversational. It didn't sound like a robot even talking.
Yeah.
But the content was a little suspect.
I do want to clarify that I did zero work on it. So I didn't even prompt it. I didn't even give it instructions. I literally just dropped your article in. So I do want to do another test now that I'm going to go home.
And we want to test it too, because it does seem like it could be very interesting. Now, prompts, that's a huge part. And I am by no means an expert on prompting. What I find in the AI tools that I use, and I'm largely talking about, like ChatGPT and some of the other stuff like that, is if I ask it to do something, and then it gets to the end, it'll say, would you like me to redo this with, a professional tone, with a more salacious tone? When we're looking for titles, sometimes, well, give me the salacious and let me see how it goes from there, right? And if I give it a prompt based on what it suggested, one from column A, B, or C, and I say, give me B.
Yeah.
What comes next is always, in my experience, very good. Mm-hmm. But I've had much less success prompting AI with my own thoughts and my own prompts to get it to that.
So I would say, and I've been kind of talking a lot to people at the conference this week and kind of giving them advice on prompting. I'm learning prompting. I'm not an expert, but I listen to a lot of podcasts on AI. I read a lot of AI stuff. So I'm learning prompting is, at least for what I do right now, is I'll give it what I want, and then I'll tell it, go ahead and rewrite this in a prompt this to be better and clear. Then once it gives it to me, then I tell it, be critical of what you told me and rewrite that so it could be better. And once I do that, it gets me like 90% of the way there.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. You could also, I've also learned, especially you, because you have so much content, you could say, I want you to write something like this, copy and paste whatever already you have. So say like the title that you already have or some information, say, this is your type of information. This is an example of how I want you to write it or prompt it or something like that. Because it learns, if you give it an example, it'll do even a better job. And you have a lot of examples already on that. So it's this little tricks that I'm kind of learning to do a lot of things. I do that a lot with data as well. So
I need to explore a little bit more, but tell us, why are you doing this with AI? Why are you going all in on AI, learning AI?
I think partly because I'm a nerd. I love technology.
Well, there is that.
There's that.
But there's more than that.
There's definitely more than that. I'm seeing how a lot of our data teams are starting to kind of use AI or data, utilize the different types of AI to analyze their data, looking at data science groups across the organization. And for me to be valuable to them, I myself have to understand what the technology is. I don't want to just come in there and just sit and say, cool, let's do this, and have zero understanding of what they're doing, because then they will trust me to say, oh, cool, you actually understand what I'm doing. You actually see the value, and give me more credit for that. But I'm also excited to just use it and to streamline a lot of my processes. I've been learning how to create agents internally for just like my email, to see how can I automate my email inbox. I mean, you know this too, because you probably get endless amount of emails, and I can never filter through any of that. So just learning myself how to do this and how am I gonna then automate or better my processes is exciting. So kind of like, I mean, we have come from a science background and engineering, and kind of like Renee also said that she likes tinkering. I like tinkering and like stuff. So me physically trying to do this myself has been very exciting.
Oh, good.
I also downloaded this app called Replit, where it's vibe coding. So vibe coding is like the fake type of coding. You tell it in natural language and it'll code something for you. So I started kind of creating my own apps. So then I could see what I could do. Clearly I've been failing at it, but it's exciting because I could actually do this myself. Like, I'm not a coder, but I'm just experimenting. I'm literally just digesting everything.
Well, that's
AI.
good, and that'll get you very far. I always encouraged our son growing up, and he never took me up on this. Is like, here's an old laptop. Like, do you want to just, like, on Saturday, let's just take it apart? And he, and I was always disappointed. I wanted to take it apart, and say, oh, this is what this does. This is, and we could go through and because before you could put something together, you have to first be able to take it apart.
Correct. I completely agree. And I think another benefit of AI with us, at least for our time, is the fact that we actually have the expertise to know whether AI is giving you a right or wrong answer. And now we could actually learn how to better it, right? I don't know what the next generation might be like, because I think we're going to lose a lot of that expertise. And if you're going to fully trust AI without any experts, that's going to be another can of worms.
We are not there yet. Before we go down that path, I just want to say, and professionally, you're interested in this because one of the things you're doing, and I know you can't talk about it too much because it's a work in progress, but you're working with Halliburton internally to try and come up with, I don't know whether you call it best practices or policies and that sort of thing, right? So that's important to the company.
It is important to the company, yes. I think like many companies right now, I think everyone has an initiative to how to implement AI in the best way and what is the best practices to ensure that everyone's using AI safely with our data. I think in our world, a lot of our data is confidential. We need to make sure that that stays confidential, and it's very privileged in what we do. So if people are able to use this safely in our environment, then that's key. So this is another reason, like you're right, this is another reason why I'm super deep into AI, so I can learn what are the limits in our space.
Right.
Because an engineer or scientist is not going to know the legality of, what are the limits of, if you submit this to ChatGPT externally, you've literally just publicized that. We can no longer patent that, right? So it's having that understanding for myself of how to use it, so then I could tell them, hey, these are our boundaries. So
when you get done with the policy, maybe we can have you come back and talk to us about, or maybe we put together a panel of people like you and maybe from other industries and see, like, what did you guys come up with that was the best practices? That's, because one of the things, and I think this also comes from Jason Harrier, who we were talking about earlier, I think it was him who said in a panel that, you could have the best AI policy in the planet, in the whole world, and if it's too complicated for your people to understand, they're going to do whatever they want, and it's as good as having no policy. And if it's too restrictive, they're still going to do whatever they want. So there's a happy medium where you have guardrails for them and keeps them safe, keeps the company safe, but it's not so onerous that it's like nobody follows it.
Correct. And that's the fine line, right? And even disseminating that to everyone in such a large corporation, because not everyone's going to look at their email.
Well, that gets back to the whole training, right? It seems like you're going to need to be doing patent training, trade secret training, what is an innovation training, and probably AI training all the time.
Yeah. I mean, the cool thing and exciting thing that I'm very excited about is the fact that I do have the tools to also utilize AI and build things that will help me. So I could build an AI agent to help me with the training. That then I get something.
So how do you build an AI agent?
Yeah. So right now we have Corporate Enterprise Copilot, and it's extremely easy. It's like vibe coding. So I'm telling it in natural language to do something, and then I'll create a code in the background and create kind of like a chatbot. So it's an agent, it's kind of like a task person or task master, kind of helps you, especially once it starts doing things autonomously. But let's just say you have your entire training decks in one location. You can now create an agent that's going to be a chatbot for all your organization that might just be next to teams, and they have a question on IP. They could then toggle that and say, hey, what does this say about that? Or let me just input this, drop this document in here. What is the AI policy on this? So it's an exciting time, at least for corporations, because we're going to be utilizing so many aspects of AI. And I'm excited that I get to build some of my kind of workflows with AI, like the agents, to not only help me, but help my inventors in a different way. So it's going to be, I feel like it's going to be a different landscape like next year when we're here, because AI is just moving so fast. So
it moves, it does. And the tools that are out there a year ago, 6 months ago, some 3 months ago, it's generational shifting on not generational time, on like a quarterly timeline or even more frequent.
Yeah, I don't want to tag a podcast here, but I listened to a podcast called the AI Daily Brief, and it's I think it's usually like 30 minutes, and it drops the information of every single aspect of the news on AI for that day. And I just listened to it. I either walking or driving, just so I could keep up with it, even though I might not be trying any of these tools right away. But I'm like, okay, I know what the latest is on this.
So is that what you listen to when you're like working out? Or?
Yeah, I don't listen to any music now. I also drive to work every day. It's usually like 20 to 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. All I digest is podcasts and read AI. I dream in AI now. It's quite scary. I was just like, what is this, Matrix?
You lead a real interesting life.
No, it's the thing is because I'm actually excited about it. I think if I wasn't excited of how this could be implemented into IP and innovation, I would not be doing it. Mm-hmm. So it's because it's together. AI with innovation, it's going to change how we're going to be planning things. What's the future? How are people going to be thinking? Right. So it's exciting. Exciting and scary, I guess. So
one thing I know about you, and maybe we can, and I don't know that it's personal, but it's not real personal. But you do a bike marathon, I guess you might call it, or a bike-a-thon, or I'll let you explain what it is and what you do. But you're like into long distance biking, right?
I am into long distance biking. I do a fundraiser. It's called the MS 150. So it's the multi sclerosis society. It's for a good cause. I've actually had a couple close family members and friends that have MS. So it's become close to what I near and dear to me. But yeah, it's 150 miles. It's every year. I've been doing this now for 6 years. I'm quite slow. It takes me a while. But it's 2 days crossing Texas. It starts in Houston and ends up in College Station. The first day, it's about roughly 100 miles. And the second day is roughly about anywhere from 75 to probably 60 miles. So it's a little bit more than 150, depending on what you do. Mm-hmm. But it's been a passion of mine. It's a good cause. I've learned so much about where that money that we fundraise goes to. It goes to not only funding research, but it goes to like having people have wheelchairs, have people have like a nurse at home that could go help them bathe, and just the endless amount of things that goes into MS and how MS could really change your whole life instantly. Mm-hmm. And it's something that I've learned to just try to do to better people, and for people to understand that this is something that happens to people. It's not a well-known kind of thing. So me just doing this fundraiser and posting pictures of me just sweaty and biking, if that kind of gives people a little bit more knowledge of what this is, for them to know, it's something to do.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, good on you. I mean, because it's a pain to drive that far.
Yes.
Let alone bike that far. And that's why I always say, people who run marathons, I mean, you're going, 175 miles sometimes, you said, depending on the course you...
Yeah, and the course I take... to be fair, last year I took the little bus a couple miles because my knees were just hurting.
A couple miles.
So I did finish it, but it's hot. I mean, for those that know Texas.
What time of year is it done?
It's the end of April, beginning of May, so it's already hot. Mm-hmm. And so we actually had Mike... I forget his last name, Mike Nee. I think it's N-Y.
Michael Nee.
Michael Nee.
Yeah,
so I met him last year, and I challenged him at dinner because he told me he's a mountain biker, and I was like, I challenge you to come bike with me. And he actually came this year. He? It was amazing. It was wonderful. So now I feel like I'm trying to recruit people from different IP conferences to have an IP-focused team just to like go at it. So it's been...
It'll be like doing the Tour de France. We'll have a little team of IP people.
Yeah, it's so... I'm telling you, it's such a fun experience.
So like if somebody wanted to get involved in that, like give me for instance, like how fast do you need to ride? How long does it take you to get from A to B? That sort of thing.
There's
and like if you're embarrassingly slow, do they like close the finish line and nobody's there? Or?
No. So they give you. So there's riders all the way from like elementary school riders to really old riders. There's riders with MS that ride. I think it starts like at 7 a.m., 6 a.m., depending on how long your ride's gonna be, and it ends until the last person goes. On the first day, there's always safety rider with you in the end, and everyone cheers for you when you come in the end as well. But there's no time limit. I would say maybe like 8 hours for the first day and probably like 7 hours for the second day. But there's no shame in anything. Like, I'm a pretty slow rider. My team's pretty fast. I think I'm one of the slowest riders. But as the captain, I feel like I have to just finish or pretend to finish. Like, it was just like, but it's, and if anyone wants to join.
Do you stop along the way?
Yes. Another cool thing about it is that there's stops every 10 to 11 miles, and it's a party at every stop. It's sponsored by someone differently. This year, there's like, in my first or second stop, you're going up a hill and there's this house there that always gives you beer. And this year it was like, I think it was like 9 a.m. and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna pound this beer because I got another like 10 miles to go. And it's just so much fun. It's actually, and it's an exciting time because everyone's doing this, everyone's suffering together, but we know they're doing it for a really good cause. I think this year the Texas MS Society ended up raising, I think I want to say like close to $15 million
on this event.
On this event.
Oh wow!
We're one of the largest.
So how many people are riding for this?
I think last year was roughly around 4,000 people. You got people coming from everywhere. It's our team alone was one of the biggest teams that we had in a while. I think we had like 40 people.
So you really are a Renaissance woman.
I'm trying to be. I'm trying to be.
You're a physics major. You're a patent agent. You're an innovation scout, and you're becoming an AI expert.
I do have an MBA, so
you have an MBA too, and you ride crazy long distances to raise money for people who need it.
I'm trying to be like you. I'm telling you.
Well, I don't do that.
But you do other cool things. So I didn't even know about your...
And I wish I can. And now that I have 2 new hips and they're functioning, and I've lost 40 pounds this summer. So
you look good.
Thank you. I'm going to try and keep that up, and we got hopefully another. I'll say it out loud so that it becomes real. I've been telling people I would like to lose another 20 to 25 pounds.
Good.
But. Yeah, so if you only knew me since I moved to Virginia, I'm back to the weight that I was when I moved to Virginia. So it's a step.
Where'd you move from? I thought this was like you're forever here.
Well, it feels that way, but Renee and I have been here since 2008. And so and before that we were in Syracuse for 6 years, and then I traveled the country for a number of years. I thought I wanted to be a tenured law school professor. And so I taught as a visiting professor here for a year, there for 2 years, here for a couple of years. And then when I got real serious with Renee had a young child, and she's like, I can't keep moving her. She moved to Syracuse to be with me when I was teaching up there, and she's, we can't keep doing this. And so I then got out of teaching, and IPWatchdog, I had started it already, and it was growing, and then it just moved right into that full time. And it's been, and that's one thing that today, when the advice we were given came up, the one thing that I would have liked to have said to the young women who were here that we were all talking to is that look for those opportunities when if you could start something, if you're interested in starting something on your own, whether it's a firm, whether it's a company, whatever it is, start with a safety net. That's what I did, and I know a lot of people, not everybody does that, but so I'm giving you my advice based on my story. And so because I was teaching in law school, I had enough of a salary. And when you're teaching, it's a full-time job, but it's not like you're not working 80 to 100 hours a week like you're an associate at a big law firm, right? So you have time. So I built IPWatchdog. I had 2 full-time jobs. I was teaching at these schools and writing, and then the stuff I would write, I would publish on IPWatchdog, and I was going through both of them. And the plan always was to, eventually, hopefully IPWatchdog would be big enough, and that's what I could do. And it worked out that way. It happened a little quicker than I thought it was going to, and there's no looking back. But if you can do that sort of thing, I think it makes the the switching cost or the risk much less.
I completely agree, and I'm grateful that you actually took that jump. We were telling a couple of the new kind of comers to the IP Watchdog that they got to go to IP Watchdog Live, and I was like, did you know this is like the IP premier event in the country? It's IP Watchdog Live, and they're like, what? And I was like, it's around the corner from here. It's gonna be in March.
Yeah, it's gonna be March. We're already starting to plan it. I've got a couple. I won't say because they're going to be like last minute surprises, but we got a couple things in the works already. And that really has turned into our law and policy kind of event, and because we do it in this area in DC, and that will be down again at the same hotel in Arlington, Virginia, which is right next to Reagan.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people when you go to conferences, and I have some friends say, hey, stop doing the hotel near the airport, but it's just so convenient for people. It really is. And this location here, and I know the people in DC think it's an outpost to come out here, but we're less than 10 minutes away from Dulles. And we had here last week the Director General of the World Intellectual Property Organization here at IP Watchdog Studios, and it was because he was flying back to Geneva after doing a tour in the U.S. And where did he fly from? He fly from Dulles. So he stopped on the way. We did a podcast, and so it's a great location, and it's a type of place here. And then when we do in Arlington, that because we're in the backyard of the greater DC bubble, you get speakers that you couldn't get elsewhere. You get people who are staffers. You get people who are the DOJ and the FCC and the FTC, and of course the Patent Office has always been very generous. Even when they don't like what I write, they're still very generous with their time because they want to come out and talk to people.
I love your platform because I agree with you. You're not going to be biased for anyone. You give everyone a platform to talk, and you yourself are giving great information. And like I said, I've learned so much, like from my beginning to career. Like when my mentor was saying, like, go learn this, send me IP Watchdog link.
Well, thank you, but you're being too modest. I mean,
I'm not. It's actually true.
Because I appreciate that, but I mean, now you are at the point where whenever I have you on one of these panels, you just give, great advice to people, and maybe that would be a good way to wrap up this conversation. I mean, what would be some advice that from the life that you've lived, as scientist, patent agent, businesswoman, and to some extent we'll call you a philanthropist, right? I mean, because you're involved in a very big way in this bicycle marathon or bike-a-thon, whatever you want to call it. I mean, what advice do you have for, maybe it could be for young women or it could be just for young people in general trying to break into the industry?
I would say don't be afraid to just go try things and reach out to people. I think, like you're saying, sometimes people are too afraid to reach out to people just because, like, they see someone like you and they're like, he's too busy. There's no way they're ever going to talk to me. And you never know what that small interaction might be. And like you were saying yesterday, if there's a mic, go get it, go pick it up. Even though if you're nervous, like I'm telling you, I still get nervous every single time. Yeah. But just putting yourself out there, you never know. You never know who you're going to talk to. You never know who you're going to impact and how they're going to impact you. Just put yourself out there. And don't be afraid to pivot, like, your career. Like, I'm grateful that my career has come back full circle into IP. But I'm also grateful that I did not end up going to law school because I had so many different opportunities. And now I've created a niche in the IP space that gives me a little bit different aspect of, like, strategizing, of the business R&D side, because I've had that full different view opposed to just going to law school. And there's a path. I think the cool and amazing thing about IP is that there's always a different path and different niche that everyone can go into.
There are all kinds of paths, right? With a law degree, without a law degree. And what I was just telling somebody earlier today too is there are more and more companies that are hiring IP managers, and I see this with some frequency, particularly in the life sciences area. And their IP manager, the person who is in charge of the IP operations, is not a lawyer. Yeah, they're a patent agent usually that has maybe in the life sciences area an advanced sciences degree of one kind or another, and that's who is in charge of the portfolio. And to some extent, that probably makes a lot of sense, because I always tell people, when I was representing clients, they would always ask me, what do you think of my idea? It's like, you don't really care what I think. And they're like, no, I really do. It's like, no, what I meant is you don't want to care what I think, because I'm an attorney. I can tell you if I can get you a patent. I can tell you whether I think it's new or not obvious. I can't tell you whether you're going to make money on it.
Yeah, if it's a business value or not.
Right,
So,
and invariably, the ones that I thought were dumb ideas that were not going to make anybody money except for me were ones that the clients were making money on. And the ones that I thought were great were ones that nobody ever made any money on. So, because it's not what a patent attorney is intended to be. And I had one guy, he just kept pestering me. What do you think? I want to know. What do you think? What do you think? And finally I told him, I said, this appears to me to be one of the dumber ideas I've ever seen. And he laughed, and he said, I was wondering whether you were going to be honest with me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, it is. It seems like a dumb. He's like, I get that. He said, no, but the thing is, and he was a wrestling coach, and I won't say what the invention was, but it dealt with wrestling, and it dealt with training and teaching wrestling at younger ages and that sort of thing. And he said, when I pull this out at our meets for the kids to use to warm up with, invariably the other coach comes over to me and says, where do I get one of those?
Oh.
And if they go to a meet and there's multiple teams there, he said there will be almost every coach come to me and say, I want one, where did you buy it? And I said to him, I said, so you didn't need me to tell you. You know there's a market for this, and you know who they are, and you know that they want it. And he says, yeah, I just wanted to know whether you were going to be honest with me. And so I always tell that story is because attorneys are not trained to know.
Yeah.
We're trained to get patents. Now, in the areas where I've been an entrepreneur myself, I know the industry, and that's, I think, singularly important, is to know the industry when you're getting started.
Completely agree. I think sometimes we forget, for at least corporations, for IP or even startups, patenting is great, but is there a business value to it, right? And you have to tie that in. And I think sometimes if the legal department is going to be completely siloed and not talking to the organization, then they're going to miss that connection. So that's why I'm always making sure that the legal department, the business side, and R&D are all talking together. We understand what the strategy for the company is. At the end of the day, you can patent things, but if it's not valuable, what are we going to do with that? So,
Right. It's got to be valuable for something.
I think having a patent, so it's an honor. So I mean,
it is.
So yeah, it's good.
Well, thanks for being here. I really
appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's good to have this conversation with you. It was great to have you on the stage, and I think you found a home as a moderator. If you want to do any more moderating,
I'm going to try it again. I need to get better at it. So,
thanks, Marlene.
Thank you.